Hi there, I'm David Icke, and we are here to talk about fiction writing. Now, this is the fifth part of a series that I'm doing on the shape of a short story. I'm using Dan Wells' 7-point plot system as a guide, and it's kind of smushed together with some ideas from Lester Dent and his pulp paper master fiction plot. Now, we're talking about short stories specifically, but with a few modifications, these concepts will work for stories of any length because it's a really traditional Western story form. You can trace this back all the way to Aristotle. I keep saying that. It's not the only way to write a short story, right? But it's just one very good way. So in this fifth video, I want to talk about the second pinch point. So this is the third quarter of your story. So if you have a 6,000 word story, it's the third 1,500 words. Comes right after the midpoint we talked about last time. And the second pinch is where you continue to apply pressure to your protagonist and his friends. And you want to make the stakes of the conflict clear. So whatever your main conflict is, whatever it is that your protagonist desires that he's trying to obtain, and things are standing in his way, that's where you get the conflict. Now, what are the stakes? So the stakes, you should make them clear here in this third quarter. If your protagonist has a mentor, this is a great time to remove him, because now your character is no longer relying on that mentor. He has to stand on his own. And so you want to remove that support. Kick it out from under him. You know, it's like in Star Wars when Luke loses Obi-Wan. That's during the second pinch point or thereabouts. So whatever you do, you want to make it clear what the consequences are going to be if your protagonist fails. Because he's taking action now, right? He's past the midpoint. He's no longer reacting. He's taking action of his own in a proactive way. And he's going to make some headway towards resolving the conflict, but plans are going to go awry. And we call these Trifail Cycles. And this doesn't just apply to the second pinch point, but it's something that you can do throughout the story. A good way to think of the Trifail Cycle is that in every scene, there's a question. And that scene is presenting a question to your character, to your protagonist. So you could have a scene where Captain Goodhart is trying to rescue the princess from the volcano's edge. And the question of that scene is, can he do it? And for every scene except for the last one, and you know, there are no hard and fast rules in writing, so feel free to violate this once you understand what it means. But in general, for every scene except for the very last one in your story, you want to answer that scene question with either yes, but, or no, and furthermore. Because every answer like that heightens the tension and makes the stakes more clear. So as you're raising the tension and the stakes, trouble becomes the key to the second pinch point. The storm that was threatening in the hook and that broke in the first pinch point, that storm is raging now. And your protagonist has made some progress. Like I say, he's made some headway, but nothing is going right because you're answering all those questions with yes, but, or no, and furthermore. And so within the story, though, it needs to feel like if he doesn't catch a break soon, he is headed for defeat. Now, especially in a short story, you want all that trouble to reflect the main conflict because you don't have room for anything else. So make sure that you're keeping your story focused on the main conflict and you're not going off onto too many rabbit trails. In a novel, you can go into rabbit trails all you want, but in a short story, you've got to stay focused. Stay focused on that main conflict. Now, taking a page from our friend Lester Dent, it's really good to throw your protagonist into some kind of physical conflict before the end of this quarter. And we've talked about this before, but by physical conflict, I don't mean just fist fights or sword fights or gun fights, though those are great. You should definitely use lots of those in your stories if you can, if it fits with the conflict. But by physical conflict, I just mean that things are happening. People are moving around the stage and they're in opposition to each other. Because again, your story is about people and what people want and what people do when they can't get what they want. That's all a story is, but you need to have that physicality to it to really get your reader engaged. Now, that's all you really need for the second pinch point. You just need trouble. You need to make the stakes and the consequences clear, and you need some physical conflict, and you'll be all set for the second pinch point. If you found this video helpful, please hit the thumbs up button right down there. And in my next video, we're going to be looking at the big setback of the story. That's a fun one. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and that little notification bell down there, and that way you'll know right when I release that video so you won't miss it. And then finally, my question for you: what do you find hardest about writing physical conflict? It's not always easy to write it. I'm curious, what do you find hardest about it? So please let me know down in the comments down there, and I will look forward to hearing from you. So thanks a lot, and until then, keep writing.